Narayanam namaskritam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayadashtapariyashu bhadresu nityam bhagata sevya bhagavati uttamashuki bhaktir bhavati naistiki nigama kalpara charagaram param shukam akaram javisamitam pivata bhagatam rashamayam mahora horasi prabhu vivakaham Krishna swadama bhagate dhamikini karonashta dushamasha parona kodunoditaham Kamapi adavishutta vishrutam vivo samyapyadena vidam viduksiram prakyahidaham aranam sanklesha nibbanamusanti nanyataham Anarto pashamam shakshad bhakti yogam lokasya jadanu chakri satvara samitam Atmanamasya munaya nagranti orvanti aitikim itam bhutta gano hari Om agyanantimananda sangana gana sanakya chaksurun miritam yana tasmai srigarave namah Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutare Swayam Rupakaramyam Darati Swaparantikam Vadneham Sri Guru Siyata Parakamaram Sri Gurun Vaishnavam Sha Sri Rupam Sagadatam Sahagana Raganatam Vitam Stam Sadevam Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sayitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Sri Radha Krishna Paran Sahagana Lalita Shrivishagan Vitam Stam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutare Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dhanamane Namaste Saraswati Devi Gurvani Pacharine Nirvishes Sanivadi Paskata Desatarine Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasari Gaur Bhaktavindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Wisdom Wednesday. Thank you for joining Vai Bobby, Hakesh, Brent. All have made comments. Thank you for that. Rob is with us on Zoom. What's the word for the day, Rob?
Glad to be here this morning, Prabhuji, and looking forward to the bits of wisdom that you'll share with us today.
You know, we were thinking about how to engage you according to your message yesterday to volunteer at the Festival of Colors, and you just did such an amazing job at Salt Lake City. I can't even imagine having done everything and with the cleanup and everything without you. So we wanted to put you in a position of leadership and responsibility. What would you think about managing the food cart where we do mango lassis, samosas, zucchini bread, cookies, and things like that? You'd have a group of young Indian professionals working with you.
I would be more than happy to serve in any position that you would have me.
Fantastic. If you just stop in one time on your way back and forth between here and Fillmore, I'll have the food cart here tomorrow. I'm going up to Salt Lake to get it tonight, so I can show you like the fryer and some of the elements of it. Pretty simple, but it needs a good, clear-headed leader in there to make sure we maximize its capabilities. We think that man is named Rob Grant.
I would be more than happy to do that, Prabhuji, and I will do my best.
All right, I know you will. I know you will. Krishna's devotees, by definition, are people of excellence. If someone's sloppy, then they're not as good a Christian devotee as they could be. I remember when we went on the road, I had a couple of assistants. And I remember one day we'd finished, where was it? I think it was San Fernando Valley. We finished the festival. We packed everything up in the truck. And one of the, sometimes we go and celebrate with a meal or something. So one of my assistants, he was agitating, let's go. And I was saying, well, we haven't cleaned up the park. There's bits of color here and there. We've got at least an hour of blowing with the air blower. And I was talking as I was blowing before we make it nice. And he said, it's good enough, let's leave it. It's never good enough. The it's good enough attitude is not the attitude of a Krishna devotee. It's not the attitude of Rob Grant. It's not the attitude of True Das. It's not the attitude of any number of people I could think of who are serving Krishna in a wholehearted, sincere, and effective way. The attitude is good enough. Let's leave it half done. Let's do a sloppy job. You have to come up higher. You cannot keep that attitude and advance in devotional service. If you're more fond of that attitude than you are of making advancement in devotional service, then your ardor, your heat, your passion for devotional service will cool and cool and cool, and eventually you'll have no attraction. And lo and behold, predictably, that person does hardly any service anymore for Krishna. He's got other interest, presumably. So don't be sloppy. Don't slack off. Krishna is the supreme, super excellent Lord. And if you're going to represent him, you need to do yourself a favor, do the other devotees a favor, and do the public a favor, and always be striving to improve, to do things in a better and better and more organized way. When we go to a park to do the Festival of Colors, I don't want to leave that park dirtier than when I came. I don't want to leave it equal to what I came. How easy it would be to say, well, it's as clean as it was when we arrived here. It's no better or no worse. I want that park to be cleaner than when we came. Prabhupada said that's the sign of a devotee. He goes somewhere, whether it's cooking in the kitchen or setting up a festival site, whatever it may be, the Brahmin, the devotee, leaves the area cleaner than when he found it. Even though we haven't done Festival of Colors for a couple of years because of COVID, and we're probably not going to go back to some of those sites just because I've gotten 2 years older, and now our temple here is really humming, and I think I'm needed here on a day-by-day basis. But I will tell you that our reputation as a traveling festival program is sterling, whether it be Woodley Park in San Fernando Valley, Whittier Narrows Park in South El Monte, whether it be Martha McLean Park in Riverside, or Sunset Park in Las Vegas, or Stadium Park in Ogden, the Pico Rancho Rivera Park in Reno, and the Southside Park in Sacramento, or the Lorenzo Park in downtown Santa Cruz. Every single staff member of those various respective parks and recreations thinks of the Festival of Colors as a first-class organization that respects their venue area and cleans it up and leaves it better than when they found it. That's Krishna consciousness, and that's why we want the Robster manage the food cart. And we've also got Joshua and Brent, who are also two people of excellence I know, who are going to manage the trash, because another excellent person who's managed the trash in the past, Govinda Dev, is going to see his father. He hasn't seen his father in over 2 years. His father's over 100 years old, and he lives on the East Coast. So understandably, he's going to be absent this year out of, again, a sense of excellence, a sense of duty and obligation to see his father, who's over a century old. But in his place, Krishna has sent two first-class substitutes, Brent and Joshua. And Govinda Dev, you've got Brent on the chat here. You can probably chat him separately and individually. Give him any nuggets of wisdom that you might have about picking up the trash. All right. And thanks for coming on board, by the way, Govinda Dev, just now. So let's do it. This will be our last time in a couple weeks. Festival of Colors is looming. There's more and more fires to put out. There's more and more things to which to be concerned. There's more and more things that I personally need to do. I've always demanding that the stage be set up and this and that and the other thing. I can't do these talks properly and at the same time do the best job that we want to do for the Festival of Colors. So this will be our last one. We won't be on next week, nor probably will be recovered in time to do the following three: Motivational Monday, Transcendental Tuesday, Wisdom Monday. So it'll be a couple weeks. It'll be into September, around Diwali time. I'll make myself available. Again, I will share a bit of good news. Monday, I think it was Monday morning, or was it just yesterday morning? Yeah, I think it was yesterday morning. I was saying that It's not our website, but the website of the ticketing agency on whom we depend to sell our tickets. You can't sell tickets. What use is all the preparation? What use is all the Airbnbs, all the air tickets, bringing in all the artists, doing all the postering, the social media? It all goes for naught if people go to the ticket page and they get a blank page, which was the case for over 24 hours recently. But fortunately, Spingo got their website back up again mid-morning yesterday. So with the hours which were left in the day, I think we sold about $500 worth of tickets today, and I'll be interested to see how much we sell today. We suspended our boosts and our press releases and our social media marketing, because what's the point of directing people to a website where you cannot buy a ticket? So we're going to catch up on all that this morning. All right, I think all the business has been done. Let's go to the nectar here, the pure, unadulterated, unfiltered nectar. Revisiting 23rd verse, 5th chapter, 1st canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Again, the great Narada Muni. Narada Muni is our St. Paul, you might say. Most of the great, pithy, juicy quotes come from Narada Muni. And it will surprise you to note that in his past life, he was not a person of consequence according to the means and standards of society. He was what we would call today an illegitimate son. He was born what we would call today out of wedlock. And if you're a youth counselor, you dealt with troubled youth, you would have called Narada Muni a child at risk. No father. His mother had known more than one man. His mother was fortunately engaged in the service of the Bhaktivedanta during the 4 months of the rainy season, and as her son, she lived in the ashram with the sages, and we can just imagine they would have taken him under their wing. They would have paid special attention, trying to, out of kindness and compassion, the sages would have naturally tried themselves to fill the gap left by his absentee father. And so just imagine that in spite of all of their shortcomings, every disadvantage, imagine a person starting out life with no father, a mother, a woman of questionable morals, and she dies of a snake bite at the age of 5. That's Narada Muni is parentless at the age of 5. So does he have a pity party? Does he say, boo-hoo, poor me? No, he goes traveling all over the world. That's chutzpah. That's another thing. As well as having a sense of excellence, a devotee has to have chutzpah, has to have panache. And certainly Narada had it. Namami antasya atapapan guyani vadani kita gam padiyatam shishramanagate kadim pradishambimana. Said he traveled all over the world, no visas, no passport, no luggage. Toothbrush, well, you just take a twig of a neem tree every day. New twig, fresh twig every day. Imagine that toothbrush which sits in the bathroom. It sits in a little rack in the bathroom while the toilet seats up and flushing goes on and aromas. And then you put it in your mouth and use it day after day after day after day. On the subject of keeping hygiene in your mouth and your teeth, better option, do what Narada did. Travel all over the world. There are neem trees everywhere. They're antiseptic. They're highly antiseptic. They're great for killing germs externally. And also, if you take it internally, if you swallow some neem tea or drink or chew some neem, and even when you're brushing your teeth, you tend to get some juice out of the thing. That's going to kill all the dysentery germs in your gut, provide good digestion. It's going to act probiotically. So yeah, didn't need a toothbrush. Just take a new twig of neem every day. And it said, Namami antasya atarpa. He had nobody checked him. Here's a young boy, no visa, no passport. There are borders, there are guards. Basically, the borders and the roads were all managed by private individuals, and they would build the road, and then they would station a guard there to collect tolls from anybody who would use the road. So Narada Muni traveled unrestrictedly as a small 5-year-old child without any parents, and he was protected by none other than the Supreme Personality of Godhead because he chanted Namami Untouched. The Lord is unlimited. He is within each and every atom. He's in the hearts. He's in the hearts of your enemies. He's in the hearts of those who would do you harm. So if he dictates from within the heart of a potential enemy, give this person a pass. Don't harass them. Don't go near them. For your own good, leave them alone. Let them continue chanting and let them go on their way. Don't block them. Don't harass them. Don't stop them. Don't try and give them a toll. So, he traveled here and there. He never had to worry for a place to sleep. He never had to worry for food. He never had to worry for shelter. In this way, he traveled humble and non-envious throughout the entire world. After leaving his body, Evam Krishna Bhatir Brahmanakti, Kali production, like lightning and illumination occur simultaneously. We hear thunder several minutes or several seconds, not minutes, several seconds after it actually rumbles, because sound travels 1,100 feet per second, but light travels instantaneous. You may see, we've all had the experience, you see the lightning instantaneously. There's no gap between the lightning flash and the impression of it on your retinas. But you don't hear the sound for several seconds later. So Narada Muni in full Krishna consciousness, being humble and non-envious of all other living entities, traveling here and there without any fixed place for his residence, with no attachments, material desires, or ambitions. When it came time to leave his body, he left his body and he attained to an eternal spiritual body just as instantaneously as lightning flashes and you see it right away. And in that spiritual body, in his next life, he became practically the greatest authority on love of Krishna, the greatest authority in bhakti. If there's a speaker, and there's so many wonderful speakers in ISKCON, and they're throwing out quotes, 30%, in some parts of the Bhagavatam, like this one, it's 100% of the quotes are from Narada Muni. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, among sages, I am Narada Muni, Devarshi. He's the Rishi amongst the Devas. Past life, child at risk, illegitimate son, chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Ram. Next life, become mentioned. Your name is on the tip of the tongue of Krishna. It's one of your dearmost devotees. So he tells this story. In the last millennium, that's before the current creation, I was born the son of a certain maidservant engaged in the service of the Brahmins who were following the principles of Vedanta. When they were living together during the 4 months of the rainy season, I was engaged in their personal service. And there you have it. Render service to the Vaishnavas. They will bestow upon you all good things. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripasindubhya patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnava. Let us offer respectful obeisances to all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord who are just as desire trees, who will fulfill all your desires. The innermost desire of the heart is to reconnect with Krishna. Krishna Valiya say jiva bahira dira makataiva maya tarit samsarana. Forgetting Krishna, separating ourselves from Krishna, perceiving our interests as separate from Krishna's interests. We got entangled in Krishna's external energy, entered into this material world and been revolving. 8,400,000 pieces of material embodied beings, from the insects and the aquatics, to the reptiles, to the birds, to the mammals, to the demigods. And we have been revolving in that cycle of birth and death for who knows how long. Spinning our wheels, not making any progress. Working hard, foaming at the mouth, dying, losing everything, getting rebirth, starting the whole process all over again. Yam yam artu udapane sarvata sambuddha tavan sarvashu vedashu brahmanashu. No, that's not it. It's yam yam artu udapane sarvata sambuddha tavan sarvashu. That's not it either. It'll come to me. But the translation is that one works very hard in order to get money to support his relatives and his family members. He himself requires very little. He eats little dal, chapati every day, which literally cost pennies. He gives all of those earnings, which are illicitly gained, which he accrued due to bending ethical moral principles, perhaps even going so far as to commit outright violence on other living entities. And for all of his troubles, he goes to hell, and the money that he earned illicitly and gave it to his relatives is the passage money by which he goes to hell. Another verse says that with great trouble and difficulty, he accumulates wealth for so-called happiness. Pumam shokati yatkrite dosha. But the Supreme Lord takes everything away at the time of death. Then he cries. He laments. He's invested his whole lifespan on his bank balance and his real assets, only to be separated from them at the time of death. And so the end result of so-called material happiness is that one cries, one becomes extremely dejected, then has to start the whole thing over again, because during the transitional period between leaving this body, spending some time in limbo, getting trained up by Yamaraj for your next body, and being packed in a womb, should you take birth as a human being next time around, and then coming out, you forget all the endeavors, all the strain of the previous life, and you start all over again on that same treadmill. My mother was in a rest home last few years of her life in Pennsylvania. One time she called me up and she said, "Chris," she was literally wailing over the phone. She said, "I spent my whole life accumulating things, and now I've lost them." She no longer lived in her house. The house was put up for sale to pay her nursing home bills. She lost her husband 8 or so years before. She lost my brother a few years before that, sometime around 1995. She was alone in the nursing home awaiting her own demise. She passed away shortly thereafter. But she was literally wailing. This is the sum total. This is the gain of my life. That whatever is there, whatever artha has been, it's simply stolen away. So Krishna is sometimes called Hari. He's a thief. He steals away our material assets so we may learn eventually how to depend upon him. People are mightily striving to improve themselves and to benefit themselves, but that's impossible to do if you don't know who you are. Narada Muni's circumstances were down in the bottom rung of society, and another person who has some similar features about their lifestyle before they became devotees, before they got transformed into Krishna consciousness, was Sanita Goswami. Although born in a Brahmin family and very wealthy and educated by society standards, he'd been engaged by the Muslims and the meat eaters and the drunkards. And he ended up doing administrative clerical work for the Nawab Hussain Shah. He and his brother had taken on Muslim names, and so they become fallen. And when he approached Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he took a straw in his teeth. He lay down flat on the ground like a stick, offering his dandavats, and he said of himself, I said yesterday, if you're applying for a position, you want the personnel director of a company to hire you. You talk about all your qualities, all your accomplishments, all your achievements. But Sanatana Goswami, he wanted to be hired. He wanted to be engaged in service by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but he knew that Lord Chaitanya is not at all impressed by material accomplishments and material achievements. So he presented him his disqualifications. He laid before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu all of his material assets as, in fact, not qualifications, but disqualifications. And he asked Lord Chaitanya to accept him anyway. Apanara hita hita kichuvijane grama vyavadari pandita setapamani. Apanara hita means what's good, and ahita means what's not good. Apanadahita hita means I do not know what is good and what is not good because I don't know who I am. If you don't know who you are, how can you benefit yourself? What to speak of benefiting others? Grame vyavitara pandita sevana. In ordinary dealings, in ordinary social intercourse, people consider me a learned scholar. He knew 4 or 5 languages. He wrote poetry. He was the prime minister of the richest state of India, which was the richest state in the whole world at the time, formerly known as Magadha or Bengal. He says, people think of me as learned, think of me as scholarship, think of me as competent, and I also think of myself as such. And yet, what self-delusion. Next verse. Keami kanyamaya jare tapa traya iha nahi jane kamani hitaya. I'm so learned, I'm such a scholar, I'm so competent that I don't even know who I am. I don't know why the threefold miseries harass me. Adhyatmic, adhibautic, adhidaivic. Miseries due to material nature, hurricanes, excessive heat, excessive cold, climate change. Miseries due to the mind and the body, one's own mind and one's own body. COVID, certainly a lot of the world's population, directly or indirectly, is miserable because of this little tiny macroscopic invisible little virus. And then miseries due to other living beings. We're not always kind to each other. Oftentimes we kill other members of our own species over trivialities, over slight insults or economic considerations. But these are the 3 miseries that harass living beings in this material world. Miseries due to material nature, due to one's own body and mind, and due to other living beings. Sanita Goswami says, I don't know who I am. I don't know why these 3 miseries harass me. So how can I be of any use, be of any benefit to myself, or to speak of other people? So in the course of instructing and accepting Sanatana Goswami, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu spent several days there initiating and inaugurating Sanatana Goswami into the philosophy of Krishna consciousness, after which he became a great famous practitioner, a wonderful example of devotion, and published so many books which future generations could take advantage of. So the instructions of Lord Chaitanya to Sanatana Goswami are laid out in the 20th chapter of the Madhya Lila. One of the chief of which is Jivara Shurupahai Nitya Krishna Das, Krishna Tatashta Shakti Beda Beda Prakash, Suryamsha Kiran Yeche Agni Chada Chaya, Shabhivaka Krishnara Tina Prakash Shakahaya. We are constitutionally and eternally, as living beings, parts and parcel of Krishna, Krishna's superior internal energy. We are Sat Chit Ananda, full of knowledge, bliss, and eternity, as is Krishna. The only problem is Krishna is Sat Chit Ananda Vigraha. He's the full embodiment of knowledge, bliss, and eternity. He's unlimitedly powerful. He's like the sun, which can never be covered by a cloud. Whereas we are just like a sunshine particle. So not being of the same quantity as Krishna, we can become covered by the cloud. And so therefore we are called marginal, Tatashta Shakti. We can go either the spiritual way or we can go the material way. Sometimes the living beings are compared to the stretch of sand on the beach, which is on the border of the greater land mass and on the border of the water mass. Sometimes that stretch of beach, that band of land, is covered by water, and sometimes it's uncovered. So similarly, we are sometimes covered by Maya, illusion, but we also have the potential to chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, and get ourselves home on land where we're meant to live a natural, unrestricted life. If your home is land, you'll never be happy in the sea. You can make temporary arrangements. You can get yourself an inner tube. You can tread water. You can make a raft. You can float. You can provide shade some or other. You can fish and get food, but you're always off balance. You're always disoriented. You're always unhappy because the water is not your home. The land is your home. So Krishna consciousness is the process of bringing the living beings back to land, back to home, back to Godhead, so that we don't get any more swept out into the ocean, which is alien and uncomfortable and opposed to our best interests. Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu quotes from the Vishnu Purana in the course of teaching Sanita Goswami, Ekadesha Stidashan Nir Joj Nirbishta Parasha Brahmana Shakti Shtiteta Makadam Jagat. He gives the example of a fire, and then there's light and heat. So the light and heat are non-different from the fire. We say the fire feels good, even though we're sitting 20 feet from the fire. If we were sitting closer to the fire, we wouldn't be saying it feels good. We would be screaming in agony. But 20 feet away and getting the benefit of the light and the heat, and rubbing our hands on a cold winter's day, we say the fire is good, the fire is warm, the fire is nice. So God is far, far away from this material world. He has his own abode, he has his own transcendental form. But insofar as the energetic and the energies are non-different, the fire and its energies of light and heat are non-different. Krishna is everywhere present, and we can tap into him. It's like electricity is everywhere present. And when you get an expert, qualified electrician, he can create an outlet, and you can plug right into and tap into that electricity. Otherwise, you don't have the means of taking advantage of the ubiquitousness of electricity. So we are covered with earth, air, fire, water, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And yet we ourselves have nothing to do with those eightfold material elements. Nothing to do with earth, nothing to do with air, nothing to do with fire, nothing to do with water, nothing to do with the mind, nothing to do with the intellect, nothing to do with false ego. But we, aparayam itas tuanyam, we are a different energy than the eightfold gross and subtle material energies. We are spiritual energy. We are parts and parcels of God. Aparayam itas tuanyam, bina prakritam, jiva bhutanam. In fact, this material body, or any of our material bodies, could not sustain themselves were they not inhabited by an eternal spark of God. I feel a song coming on, if you don't mind. The inner soul continues when the outer body ends like flame from wood, sparks ascending, transcending dark matter, blending with the sky, invisible to the naked eye. You cannot kill nor can you die, you cannot burn nor can you fry. Soul cannot be scorched by any blaze, no water can drown the spirit, no wind can make it fade. You cannot cut another, nor can you bleed. The soul is eternal, unborn, a seed, indivisible, indestructible, forever free from birth, death, old age, and disease. Yet howsoever turned or tossed, the soul can never itself exhaust. Seated in the heart, beating its drum, power in everyone. Brighter than the sun, the soul's superior force lives on and runs its endless course in God's unlimited universe. As a cloud is seated on air, so spirit supports the flesh. Take away living force, just chemicals lying there, corpse, naked and bare. Not a twitch or wiggle, not a subtle wink or giggle. Can't tickle it or puzzle it with a riddle. Deaf, blind, mute, dumb, numb. Can't reward it, can't ignore it, can't restore it. Only thing to return it, burn it, bury it. Earth to earth, dust to dust, ash to ashes. Infirm body versus immortal soul. Learn the difference, conquer ignorance. Make a spiritual choice. Sing out, rejoice, give voice. Make some noise for the spiritual force. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. The first step to doing good to yourself and doing good to others is to realize who you are. Avinasi Titan Bidi Yenasaram Shakamanasa Siddhimana. You're an eternal spirit soul, and it is the spiritual spark in the heart which emanates consciousness. Yata Prakasyati Kamsam Rasham Tadabhina Vikshan Vijapamana. Says just like the sun sits in one corner of the universe and yet it enlivens, it brings the whole universe to life because of its all-pervasive rays which reach every nook and cranny of the universe. Similarly, there's a tiny spiritual spark, 1/10,000th the size of the tip of a hair, which is implanted in the region of the heart, and yet that is so powerful that it emanates consciousness. And that consciousness gives warmth, it gives creativity, it gives vibrancy, it warms up the otherwise outside temperature corpse. The normal comfortable external temperature is like 70, 75 degrees, and yet When you go to the doctor and they take your temperature, it's 98.6. So why are we 18 degrees warmer than the outside? If we're just a byproduct of material elements, why are we 18 degrees warmer? What's that all about? It's because of the soul. It's because of the soul also. Actually, the body is lighter. A living body is much lighter because the soul is its tendency is to go up. Tendency is to lift, support matter, anti-gravity, you might say. But once the soul leaves the body, and that same body weighs more because it doesn't have that lightening effect of the presence of the soul within it. So the soul is eternal, this body is perishable. We are the soul, we are not the body. But unfortunately, at some point, we perceived our interest as different from Krishna's interest. We forgot that we owe our existence, we owe everything to Krishna, to God. We some or other become enamored with the delusion that we created ourselves, that we're in charge, that we're in control, that we can own and possess and squeeze enjoyment out of this dull, dead, external material atmosphere, and some or other against all reasoning and logic and against our own best interests and the best interest of our family members and those with whom we have contact. We have come to take shelter not at Krishna's eternal lotus feet. We have abandoned that shelter and fallen to take shelter of this material energy, which is called Dharasaya. We're sitting on the lap of the witch called Maya. She is not our friend, but we have taken shelter of her. Witches suck the blood of children. They're not the friend of children. They may present themselves. They may approach the children, like Putana approached Krishna in disguise, presenting herself in one way, but her full intention was to put Krishna to her breast and poison him to death. Similarly, Maya has her allures. Bala me pasyamaya strimaya jana yakarudapara ruvi jambena kevala. In the third canto, Kapil's talking to his mother about the power of his Maya in the form of the female. Female is the fulcrum, it's the pivotal point by which we leave Krishna's shelter and take shelter of this material world, which is a female after all. And Krishna says, in his form as Kapila, says, just see the power of my Maya, that a world conqueror, Caesar, a Napoleon, a Charlemagne, they all have their Josephine, they all have their Cleopatra. And although these world conquerors bring down, subjugate whole countries and whole armies with their arrows darkening the sky, it only takes one arrow from a beautiful woman to bring that world conqueror to his knees. The curved eyebrows of the woman, the straight part between the eyebrows, it's like a bow. It's like a bow, and this is where you hold the bow. And the arrows of their glances. So it only takes one come hither glance from a beautiful woman, and Napoleon's down for the count, Charlemagne's down for the count, Caesar's down for the count. So it is a lure between the male and the female, which is the point of our entry into this material world, which is a reason for our having taken faith and having taken shelter in this material atmosphere, which will leave us with nothing. It will take everything we have and leave us with nothing. Here it is, find this verse in the 41st verse in the 7th chapter, the 7th canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. Yadartaya kamani vidbhamaniya sakrim nara karotya tori viparya shamamogam bindite param. We apply our kripana, our misdirected intelligence, towards making a beautiful arrangement, basically for sex in this material world. After all, family life is just a manifestation of the original joining between a man and a woman. Pum sam sriyami tuni bhavme tante the hard knot of false ego becomes entangled in this material world when a man meets a woman, when a woman meets a man. Atochetra chutapta here. Due to that connection between the man and the woman, there are byproducts. One's influence, one's interests, one's appetites expand. One has a wife, and then from the wife come children, and then one has to have one, if not multiple residences, and one needs to have land on which to put those residences, and one needs to have income to pay property tax, and one needs to have businesses in order to produce the income. And it just goes on and on and on, and it begins from that one point where a man looks at a woman. Dayato visham pugam sangatsang sangache kamakoru vyayate. It says just glancing, just rubbernecking once and seeing the wrist, the ankle, the eyes, the glossy hair, the thin waist, the bosom of a woman. As a result, one develops attachment. There's an instant attachment. One's walking along, not a care in the world, minding one's own business with no economic pressures, no pressing responsibilities. And when one happens to see an anatomical part, usually uncovered by any clothes of a woman, immediately one becomes attached. And from such attachment, lust develops, and from lust, anger, and from anger, bewilderment of memory, and from bewilderment of memory, one falls down into this materialistic pool. And so, in the course of trying to make a gorgeous arrangement so that one can enjoy the association of the opposite sex and all the byproducts, people use their prodigious God-given intelligence for figuring out various permutations and combinations to improve their material sense gratification. Inevitably, those adjustments, those arrangements are not natural. They're beyond what is our natural quota for living a simple, God-conscious life. We have created an aberration. We have created unnatural, inflated lifestyle. We have violated, pushed against the laws of the universe, which are meant for the peaceful, happy, contented lifestyle of the majority of living beings. And there's always a rubber band effect. We produce one problem due to our waywardness, our capriciousness, our diversion from God. We produce one problem, and then we try to counteract that problem with a solution based on our technology and our science. That creates an even worse problem, which we then have to counteract. Vidura tells Dhritarashtra's elder brother Dhritarashtra, who's still attached to material life, blind, lost all of his 100 sons, all the symptoms of death. He can't see, he can't hear, he's coughing up mucus and everything. Still he's attached to material life, thinking that he can counteract all these things as they arise. And Vidura says, Pratikriyanyasha, you cannot ultimately counteract material nature. It is inexorable, it is unstoppable. And eventually death will come, tap you on the shoulder and grab you away. So the whole process of acting and counteracting, blocking and counter-blocking, parring, thrust and parring is doomed, because your body is material, your body is temporary, and you'll eventually have to leave that, your family members, and all your assets. So this verse is a very insightful verse. It's by Prahlad Maharaj. It says, thinking oneself very advanced in intelligence, one continually acts for economic development. But again and again, as predicted, as foretold, as we've been warned in the Vedas, we become frustrated, either in this life or the next life. Indeed, the results that one obtains from so-called technological advancement is inevitably the opposite of those that one desired. Prahlad Maharaj goes on in this section, Dukkha Sukha Moksha Sankalpya Sarapnodhyaya Anihaya Sukhavritaham. As in this material world, every sense gratifier seeks to increase their happiness and diminish their distress. This is called the pleasure principle, and we all work under the pleasure principle, including and especially devotees of the Lord. But it's a question of where you think your pleasure comes from. according to where you think you're going to get pleasure, you direct your actions accordingly. So the materialist thinks that they can squeeze pleasure out of this dull, dead, dark matter. And as long as they have things, houses, bank balance, transportation, wives, children, land, they think that they are happy. However, these very things which they take for their happiness are the causes of their distress. So the bottom line, the lesson that Prahlad Maharaj is teaching here, is that the greatest cause of unhappiness is trying for happiness. The greatest cause of unhappiness is trying for happiness. We live simply, rurally, on some land with our relatives, cousins, friends, grandparents, all close by, grow our own food. There'll be challenges. There'll be dry seasons. There'll be times of famine as well as feast. And everything will not be a bed of roses, but the happiness will be not excessive, not unnatural. Neither will the distress be excessive or unnatural. The problem is we build a culture which gives us unnatural highs, but everything in this material world follows some basic material laws, one of the most essential of which is what goes up must come down. So as we have created with our technology and our advancement and our industrialization, so-called pleasures and stimuli which have never been available to human society before in the history of the world, we have also created the downside, the catastrophic, the epidemics, the pandemics, the nuclear weapons, the genocide. And we haven't even seen the worst of what is yet to come, in my humble opinion. That has all been generated by our so-called efforts to improve. Prahlad Maharaj warns us that the greatest cause of unhappiness is striving for happiness. Prabhupada gave the example that if you want to build a 20-story building up, somewhere there's a hole. Somewhere you had to dig a hole 20 stories down in order to create a 20-story building. So you may think it's very nice being on the 20th story of an apartment block, but then the planes fly into that tower, and then life isn't so nice all of a sudden anymore. But if you were just living in a hut, which is only 1 story above the ground, then you'd only have a 1-story hole. Life wouldn't be as merry, as intoxicating as life on the 20th story, but neither would life ever get as miserable as life down 20 stories under the ground. So, Yukta Haraviharasha, Yukta Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita, we're looking for the medium ground. We don't want unnatural highs, which then lead to unnatural lows. Just be happy with some land, a cow, working in the fields, being close to your relatives, having homegrown food. There will be times of drought. There will be excessive rainfall. There will be excessive heat. There will be quibbles between family members who are living close together. But they'll be insignificant compared to the downsides that we're facing now. There's a auto parts store in Spanish Fort, and they usually put up on their marquee some funny sayings. So this one I chuckle at almost every time. It's Napa Auto Parts or something. And it says family owned. Okay, family owned, right? That's the main title. And then under it, it says, shut up. No, you shut up. Does that ring a bell? Any of you who live in extended family, shut up. No, you shut up. So there's aggravations. I saw another quote last year. It said, anyone who thinks they're spiritual advanced should spend a week with their family. It's challenging, but believe me, it's manageable. Never before have we had depression to the depth and to the extent that we've had, living simultaneously and as a consequence of the extraordinary, unnatural, inflated so-called sense gratification which is available. So I'll end We've been quoting Prahlad Maharaj and we've been quoting Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, but I'll end with Prahlad Maharaj, who is the emblem of Krishna consciousness. He knows what's what. He knows how to benefit himself. Even end up benefiting his demoniac father by giving him liberation. Such is the power and the blessing of having a pure devotee in your family, in your society. Prahlad Maharaj says to his schoolmates, and we'll end with this today, 38th verse, 7th chapter, 7th canto. Koti presho sura balakahirir upasane sudidi chidavachadaha shashakyana shaka sheshanam samanyata kimbisho papareham. Save yourself a lot of grief, a lot of trouble, a lot of screaming, a lot of agonizing. Oh, my friends, sons of the demons, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, in his super soul feature, always exists within the cores of the hearts of all living entities. As such, he is the well-wishing friend of all living entities, and there is no difficulty in worshiping the Lord. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Why then should people not engage in his devotional service? Prahlad Maharaj is confounded, can't understand it. And he ends with this question, we'll also end with this question. Why are they so addicted to unnecessarily producing artificial paraphernalia for sense gratification? Why, indeed? Our thought for the day, while we chant happily, blissfully, joyfully, calmly, with equanimity, with our senses and mind under control, and our latent depression manageable. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Thanks for being with us. We'll have to take your leave for a couple of weeks while we mount this epic festival here in Spanish Fork. Hopefully it'll bring a lot of people into contact with Krishna consciousness and prasadam and onto the temple grounds, all of which are goods, those good winds, missionaries such as ourselves, try to get people to come to the temple. We try to get them to chant the names of God, and we try to get them to take prasadam. And as a result of that exposure, develop a higher taste for spiritual life. Leave off the lower animalistic pursuits of sense gratification. Thank you, Sundari Priya, for joining us. Thank you, Bhakti Gary from Northern California, Jean, Govinda Dave, Brent, Rakesh, Bobby. Thanks to everybody for joining us here this morning on Wednesday, Wisdom Wednesday. We'll be back a couple weeks from now with Motivational Monday, after preparing for, executing, and don't forget, cleaning up on the Festival of Colors. Our building was open 20 years ago in June. And that's when we had a fresh coat of stucco all around the building. It looked brand new and shiny. So over the course of 20 years, sometimes we've had some leak from the upper floor, some streaks and some water damage. Sometimes during the Color Festival, the kids put all their handprints on the building, which is normally not a trouble if it's dry, because then we just blow them off. But if it's wet, if it rains, if there's moisture in there, then we have to pressure wash it. It's not good for the stucco. It kind of compromises the stucco. So we had a company scheduled to come in and re-stucco. It's called a skim coat. Do a light repair all the water damage and repair the cracks, and then do a skim coat of stucco. It takes about a week. They lay down their mats. They don't want to get bits of paint and all on the deck and everything. So they're a busy company. They're in much demand. And so we originally signed the contract 6 weeks ago, and 2 weeks went by and they couldn't get by with me. So finally I sent them a message now. I said, no, don't come now. Don't come now. Come after the Festival of Colors. After everyone, well, we try to stop them, but you can't entirely stop them. Wait until we clean up after the Festival of Colors, and then give us a nice brand new coat of stucco. I don't know why I mentioned that, but now you're more fully informed about the goings-ons here at the Spanish Fork Temple. Thank you again. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram.